I'm so excited to welcome Christine Crise with us today. She's a Master Certified Coach, health coach, best-selling author, Break the Cycle with Your Mother. I've read it. There it is. Current host of a podcast called Self-Esteem Truths. Christine helps her clients to heal from childhood parenting traumas and to break the cycle of negative parenting with their own children. Welcome, Christine. Are there some qualities that you see in some of the clients you work with have certain qualities because of being parented in a specific way that's not been healthy for them?
Absolutely. So what you typically will see is people pleasing, very concerned about what other people, feeling that everything's on your shoulders, thinking you need to handle it all, very low self-esteem, fearful of other people's reactions to you, fearful of consequences, and all this kind of manifests in stress. So even if you're not aware that you're having these underlying things going on, what you might be aware of is addiction to food, addiction to alcohol or drugs, deep immersion into TV or fictional stories or characters and needing that escape, high stress, high anxiety, depression, struggling with your weight. All of these things are signs that there was some childhood trauma and you're attempting to cope in one way or another. I mentioned in my book, and I feel like this is where so many of us miss it. We hear the word trauma and we think like car accident, parent died from cancer, molestation. But really, whenever a child's need goes unmet, that registers as trauma. So even if a parent is trying their best and maybe they don't have all the information or all the tools or help, that child may still have experienced trauma, even if the parent's intention was, really good and strong and positive and full of love. This is not a hate your parents, blame the parents book.
No.
This is loving your parent and understanding that there was some side effects that are affecting your life now that need to be addressed.
One of the tools I saw was that one about the fence and how we meet at the fence.
Boundaries are really helpful, and actually boundaries are very kind. And so I don't want us looking at them as this, giant stone wall that can never be seen over, climbed through, or broken down, but rather a white picket fence. You can see through it, you can talk over it, you can meet at it. There's still room for relationship. And you know what? It's just a fence. If you want to move it closer to your home or move it a little farther away from your home, it's easy to do that. People that have an emotional breakdown somewhere, whether it's a diagnosable one or not, they don't really respect other people. And so it's our job to say, here's the line you cannot cross. And it's actually very beneficial to them because they can't find that on their own. There's a boundary in place that you stand by and don't let them cross, then they're not getting that hurt and frustration and irritation from you because you're not letting them push that boundary and hurt you. And so it actually is very kind to them and showing them this is where you can be and we can interact very healthily and happily and still have a relationship without either one of us being hurt. I don't tell you, don't call me before 7 a.m. I'm going to get frustrated when you call me and you're just trying to reach out to a friend. That is not kind to make people play a guessing game. It's so much nicer to be very clear about what it is that you want and you need and what you will accept and what you will not accept. What can I do differently to change how people are interacting with me? Mm-hmm. Because if I can't change that, then what's the point? I might as well get lost in my depression. I might as well get lost in my hopelessness. I might as well not try anything ever again in life if I don't have control over my own life. What I can do to never be a victim again. I had been molested, I had been raped, and I just was always a walking target, I felt like. And I knew there had to be a way to not be that because I had heard of women that had never been attacked. Yeah. So I knew it was possible. And so it was that journey of trying to figure out what does it look like to be in charge of your own life that really brought me to a place of understanding clear communication, boundaries, and sticking to what you're saying will really shape the way the people around you interact.
What is one of the things that you do to help people move from victim into, healthy?
Once I can get somebody curious about, well, wait a minute, what if I'm not just a problem? What if I'm not just fat and lazy? What if I'm not just too stupid to have a real job? What if? Once I can get people curious about that, I really feel like the rest is really simple. I always say that the thing that gets silenced most was where we were the loudest. So that's probably where your strengths lie. So if you were always told to stop making up stories, you're probably incredibly creative and have a storyteller inside of you that needs to come out. So let's explore that and not look at it as the negative that we've been labeling it as, but get really curious about what positive thing it could say about you and who you actually were meant to be. Yeah, nobody says shh to the quiet person, right?
Right. Yeah.
So whatever you were being told, that's where you were shining.
Wow, that's so powerful. And what do you wish that every person knew that has experienced childhood trauma?
Oh, I wish they not just heard this, but felt this. It had nothing to do with you. It literally had nothing to do with you. Whether it's anger or frustration or nastiness or pain, it's just, that's what it is. It's fallout from their own battle that they're fighting. And it literally has nothing to do with you except that you were in proximity to them. It says nothing about who you are as a person, whether or not you were a good kid or a bad kid, who you were supposed to be, whether or not you're a disappointment, whether or not you're lovable, nothing, absolutely nothing. And we have to stop making it about us. I really tried to write this book in a way that could apply to any relationship. Mm-hmm. I focus on the mother-daughter, but I've had men read it and, apply it to their fathers or their mothers. I've had people read it and apply it to their current adult relationships with their partner. And so I try to write everything that could be applicable to all of that. And one of the things that just seems to jump out at people is the 4 C's, the things that you should be having in any relationship. Mm-hmm. And what I find in people that are struggling in current relationships, often because of past trauma, is that they're begging for these things that should already be given to them without question. They're kind of requirements of human decency, if you will, right? They're willing to compromise with you. They're connecting with you. They're caring about what you're having to say. They're communicating. If you're not naturally getting these things in your relationship, if you're having to ask for these things, you're not in a relationship. We tend to say, I really need XYZ from you. Mm-hmm. And the answer we're receiving, whether verbally or through other things, is no. And so we cave.
Right.
Okay, not this time. Okay, not right now. But what we're doing when we cave is we're telling that other person, I'm in agreement with what you're deciding or what you're asking for. I don't really mean what I was saying or asking for. Mm-hmm. And then we're very hurt that our needs aren't being met. We've said it 100 times, and the other person may seem like a huge jerk. But the reality is, if we were to sit down and talk to them, they would say, I had no idea you needed that. I had no idea you were serious. I thought it was a suggestion. So we have to let them know, I am not in agreement. We're not being nice. We're not being kind. We're not compromising when we've crossed the line that far. When we're saying, I need this, and the answer is no, and we go, okay, another time.
So what do we do then? Do we go and find what we need somewhere else if that person isn't willing to give it to us? Do we make sure that we're meeting our own needs aside from that relationship? Because we can't, like what I found in the past is I thought, well, maybe this person just doesn't understand. Maybe if I try asking in a different way, maybe like they didn't get it, that's why they're not giving it to me. And so I was contributing, just like you're saying, to the okay, and it was causing confusion, right? Because Absolutely. What I was saying wasn't lining up. So how do you suggest that we take care of ourselves in that situation?
I'm so glad you asked that question. And all those things that you're saying, like I have thought those things. When I was married to my narcissist, I thought all those things. I just haven't explained it well enough. Maybe I just need to give him a little bit more and fill him up so he can give back, right? Yeah. So it feels wrong what I'm about to suggest, but honestly, it's the absolute best thing that you can do. Pull back, stop giving, get petty. It sounds harsh, it sounds mean, it sounds like I'm telling you to be bad or rude or the B word. But honestly, this is the healthiest thing that you can do to be super clear with them. And then they have a choice to meet you, or you're going to see how big the gap between the two of you really is. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying, I don't have the energy to cook dinner tonight, and they are not going to help you, the first thing I would say is make sure we're being super, super, super clear. Saying you need help is not telling them you need to help me, right? So we can say, I need you to help me in the kitchen by chopping carrots for the next 15 minutes. Can you do that? Make it so clear that there's no confusion of did they understand. If they say no, you know what? Turn off the burner, go out, take yourself to dinner. I'm serious. It sounds petty, but honestly, they need to see that you are not in agreement and what they're giving is not working.
Right.
If you're saying, you know, you guys are planning on going on to the movies and they are insisting on watching this movie and you're like, I do not want to watch that movie. I want to watch this movie. If they're like, no, not that movie, you don't go, okay, fine, and go watch the movie you don't want to watch. You go, okay, that's cool. You go enjoy that. I am not going. I'm going to go do something else.
Right.
You have to stand by what you're asking for and saying that you want or need. They have to see that you're not in agreement, that this isn't just a suggestion that they can ignore. It's just being so incredibly clear about your wants and needs in a way that makes it impossible for them to go unmet by anybody who cares. And then you can become really clear of whether or not they do care.
There were times in my life where I was not feeling like I was strong enough to do the thing that felt wrong. So you do offer coaching on this. Are you accepting clients for this right now?
I am,
Yes.
and I do. And if I ever give my clients a task like this, I am available. They can text me and go, okay, I'm about to do it. This is my wording. Does this sound okay? And we can work on it. They can tell me, I just said it, and he's in the other room frustrated. And we can be there step by step through the entire process so that they know they're not having to do this alone, because it doesn't feel natural at first. It really doesn't.
Anyone watching can order Christine's book from Amazon. And also I'm going to have a link so that you can connect with her and ask her for help with coaching if that's something of interest to you. So Christine, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel so blessed to actually have you as a friend of mine. Anything last that you'd like to share to anybody that's watching?
I just want everyone to know that no matter how old you are or how long you've been stuck in this pattern, it's never too late. It is all reversible. And it can be a fun process as you rediscover who you were meant to be and the amazing person that you're capable of being. So always believe in yourself. Thank you for having me on and letting me share about my book.
I love it so much. Thank you so much for being here. Much love to you.